Ambassador Talreth stood before the massive viewing screen in the council chamber, watching the lights of New Busan colony flicker below. The human settlement looked peaceful from orbit. Streets glowed softly in the darkness. Buildings stood tall and proud. But something was terribly wrong. "Show me the population scans again," Talreth said to the ship's computer. "Zero human life signs detected," the mechanical voice replied. "All automated systems functioning normally. No distress signals recorded." 3 days had passed since Scout Captain Myra of the Altarian Trade Fleet had made the discovery. She sat across from Talreth now, her blue skin pale with worry. Her forearms moved nervously as she spoke. "I went down to check on the spice processing plants. Humans were supposed to deliver their monthly harvest. But when I arrived at the refinery, nobody came to meet me." Myra paused, remembering. "At first, I thought they were just late. Humans are usually very punctual, but sometimes they celebrate strange holidays. So I waited. Hours passed. Still nobody came." "What did you find when you investigated?" asked Commander Vex-High. The tall Kethran warrior had scars across her grey face from many battles. She was known for getting straight to the point. Empty buildings. But not abandoned. Everything was clean and organized. Machines were running. Lights were on. Food was still warm in some places. It was like everyone had just vanished into thin air. Dr. Yoon looked up from her medical pad. She was one of the few humans who worked directly with the Council. For 20 years, she had managed health services for human colonies across the galaxy. Her job was to make sure the 17 million humans living on 43 different worlds stayed healthy and happy. "I have been checking medical records," Dr. Yoon said quietly. "No reports of sickness. No emergency calls. No requests for evacuation. The humans were fine yesterday. Today they are gone." Admiral Crix brought his huge fist down on the metal table. The sound echoed through the room like thunder. "This is impossible. Humans do not run away. They fight for everything. They will defend the smallest piece of land like it is made of gold." Engineer Lee studied data streams flowing across his screen. Numbers and charts showed power usage, food production, and water systems across the empty colony. All systems are working perfectly. The fusion reactors are running at full power. Food factories are still making meals. Water treatment plants are cleaning millions of gallons every day. But there is nobody there to use any of it. The main screen changed to show another world. New Sol colony appeared, its towers reaching toward the sky. But the streets were empty. No people walked the sidewalks. No vehicles moved on the roads. "Show New Jeju," Talreth ordered. The same sight appeared. Beautiful buildings. Perfect infrastructure. No people. New Daegu. Again, the same pattern. A thriving human colony with no humans. "How many colonies have we confirmed empty?" Talreth asked. 4 to 7 worlds show no human life signs, Commander Vex-High reported. 12 more colonies have stopped answering our communications. If this continues, every human settlement in the galaxy will be empty within 1 month. A new voice crackled through the communication system. "This is Dr. Park calling from Medical Research Station Hippocrates." The space station orbited a distant planet where human and alien scientists worked together to develop new medicines. "Dr. Park, what is your status?" "The human research team left 2 days ago. But they did something very strange. They left detailed instruction manuals for all their equipment. Step-by-step guides for continuing their experiments. They even left notes about which projects were most important to finish." The room became very quiet. In 300 years of galactic civilization, no species had ever done such a thing. When races left planets, they usually took everything valuable with them. They did not leave gifts behind. "Connect me to Earth immediately," Talreth commanded. It took several minutes for the long-distance communication to reach humanity's home world. When the signal finally connected, a familiar face appeared on the screen. Director Kim had been the main contact between humanity and the galactic community for over a decade. "Director Kim," Talreth said carefully. "We need answers. Human colonies across the galaxy are being abandoned. Your people are leaving without any explanation." Director Kim looked calm, almost peaceful. His expression showed no worry or fear. "I am sorry, Ambassador Talreth. I cannot give you specific details. But I can tell you that humanity is grateful for our time as part of galactic society. We have learned very much from all the different species we have met." "Your words sound like a goodbye," Commander Vex-High said with suspicion in her voice. "In some ways, yes, it is a goodbye," Kim replied. But this is not permanent. Sometimes people must step away from a situation to help others grow stronger. Before anyone could ask another question, the transmission ended. The screen went black. Earth had cut off all communication. The council representatives sat in stunned silence. Humanity was leaving the galaxy, and nobody understood why. The end. Captain Jin gripped the railing of his ship's bridge as alarms blared around him. The Harmony's Edge shook violently as it dropped out of hyperspace unexpectedly. Through the viewing windows, deadly energy storms from the Magellan Nebula crackled just meters away from their hull. Navigation systems are failing again, Captain, shouted Officer Kale, his blue tentacles dancing frantically over the control panels. The quantum computer is giving me impossible readings. It says we are in 3 different locations at the same time. Jin cursed under his breath. 6 weeks ago, this journey through the nebula had been routine. Human-designed computers had made the complex calculations look easy. Now, without those systems, the same route had become a nightmare. How long to calculate a safe jump manually? Jin asked. 14 hours, sir. Maybe more. Kale's voice shook with worry. The gravitational fields in this nebula change every few minutes. By the time we finish our calculations, they will be wrong again. Then we go around the long way, Jin decided. It would cost them 3 weeks of travel time and use up most of their fuel. Their cargo of rare medicines would arrive late, and they would barely break even on the trip. But it was better than dying in a storm of cosmic energy. As the Harmony's Edge limped toward safer space, Jin thought about how easy things had been just 2 months ago. Human navigators had made hyperspace travel feel simple and safe. Now he realized how much his people had depended on human expertise. On the industrial planet Vega Prime, factory supervisor Hannah stood in the middle of her silent production floor. Massive robots that had worked perfectly for decades now sat motionless. Warning lights flashed red across dozens of control stations. "Show me the error report again," she told her assistant, a young Catherine engineer named Bex. "The assembly robots are making microscopic mistakes in their work," Bex explained, pointing to holographic displays showing defective products. "Parts that should fit together perfectly are off by tiny amounts. Our quality control systems reject almost everything the robots make." Hannah walked over to examine one of the failed products, a power cell that would normally power a small spacecraft for months. It looked perfect to her eyes, but the testing equipment showed it would explode if used. "Can we fix the robots ourselves?" Bex pulled up a thick manual on his datapad. The human engineers who programmed these machines 50 years ago wrote very detailed instructions. But the instructions assume we already know things we do not know. They talk about harmonic resonance patterns and quantum mechanical tolerances like everyone should understand these concepts. How long will it take us to learn? Years, probably. Maybe decades. Bex looked defeated. The humans did not just build these machines. They created an entire way of thinking about engineering that we never fully learned. Hannah looked around at her empty factory. Hundreds of workers had been sent home because there was nothing for them to do. Products that had been manufactured here for generations could no longer be made. Other factories across the planet were having the same problems. In the medical center on Kepler Station, Dr. Cho stared at reports coming in from hospitals across 12 different worlds. The news got worse every day. "How many patients did we lose this week?" she asked her assistant. 43 deaths that could have been prevented 6 weeks ago, came the grim reply. Mostly from rare diseases that human doctors knew how to treat. Dr. Cho pulled up medical records on her screen. The vegan flu outbreak on Colony 7, humans had developed a cure for that 3 years ago. Now the local doctors do not know how to make the medicine. What about the surgical procedures? Even worse. Humans created operation techniques that work on different alien species. They understood how Altarian hearts are different from Catherine hearts, and how to operate on both safely. Our doctors only know how to treat their own species. Dr. Cho felt helpless as she read report after report of preventable deaths. Human medical knowledge had saved millions of lives across the galaxy. Now that knowledge was gone, and people were dying. Far away, in the depths of space, the pride of the Zephyrian military drifted like a dead whale. The Stellar Dominion was the newest and most powerful warship in their fleet. Its weapons could destroy entire moons. Its shields could stop any attack. But now it floated powerless and dark. Admiral Thek stood on the ship's bridge, watching his crew work desperately to restore power. "What is the status of repairs?" Chief Engineer Back wiped sweat from his forehead. The power coupling system is completely beyond our understanding, sir. It was designed by a human physicist named Dr. Su 3 years ago. The efficiency is incredible, 30% better than our old systems. But we have no idea how it actually works. Can we replace it with our old technology? The new system is integrated into everything, sir. The weapons, the shields, the life support, they all depend on Dr. Su's power coupling design. If we remove it, we would have to rebuild the entire ship. Admiral Thek stared out at the stars. His mighty warship, capable of conquering planets, was helpless because they could not understand human engineering. Across the galaxy, the same story repeated on thousands of worlds. Systems failed. Knowledge was lost. People died. The absence of humanity was being felt everywhere. The end. The Grand Assembly Hall buzzed with worried voices as beings from across the galaxy gathered for the most important meeting in 3 centuries. Supreme Chancellor Vorth AK looked out at the sea of faces, some with multiple eyes, others with no eyes at all. Some breathed oxygen, others required methane gas masks. But they all shared the same expression of fear. Silence. Vorth AK's voice boomed through the chamber. His tall, crystalline body glowed brighter when he was stressed. Today, he shone like a small sun. We are here because our civilization is falling apart. The humans are gone, and everything they helped us build is breaking. Secretary General Ju stepped forward to address the assembly. She was a small, furry creature with 6 legs, but her voice carried clearly through the hall. The numbers are terrifying. 4 to 7 worlds will run out of food in 8 weeks. Factories across the galaxy have stopped working. People are dying from diseases we could easily cure just 3 months ago. Murmurs of panic rippled through the crowd. Representative Mora of the Mining Guild stood up. Our asteroid mining ships cannot navigate safely without human computers. We have lost 12 ships this month alone. Hundreds of workers are dead. The trade routes are collapsing, added Captain Vex of the merchant fleet. Without human navigation systems, we cannot travel through dangerous areas of space. Our shipping costs have tripled. Some colonies may not receive supply ships at all this year. In a small room behind the main hall, Ambassador Ryu tried once again to contact Earth. She had been humanity's friend for over 20 years. They had worked together to solve countless problems across the galaxy. Now she could not even get them to answer her calls. Please, this is Ambassador Ryu, she spoke into the communication device. We need to talk. People are dying. The galaxy needs humanity's help. The same recorded message played back. Humanity thanks the galaxy for the experience of shared civilization. We wish you well in your future endeavors. This message will repeat. Ryu slammed her fist against the wall in frustration. The cold metal hurt her hand, but not as much as the silence from her human friends. Back in the main hall, Ambassador Krelnuth of the Stellar Collective was speaking. His people were known for being logical and practical. They did not panic easily. But even Krelnuth sounded worried. Humans do not just disappear, he said, his metallic voice echoing through the chamber. We have studied their psychology for centuries. They form strong bonds with other beings. They care deeply about their communities. They have a saying, no one gets left behind. So why have they left us all behind? Dr. Han stepped forward. She was one of the galaxy's leading experts on alien psychology. For 30 years, she had studied how different species thought and felt. She had written books about human behavior that were taught in schools across hundreds of worlds. This is what disturbs me most, Dr. Han said, her voice quiet but clear. Everything we know about human nature says they should not have done this. Humans are helpers. They see a problem and they try to fix it. They see someone in need and they offer assistance. It is how they are built inside. Then why did they leave? Demanded Admiral Zek, his serpentine body coiling with anger. If they are such great helpers, why did they abandon us when we need them most? Dr. Han paused, thinking carefully. I have been studying their final communications. Hidden messages. Records from human colonies before they left. I think I am beginning to understand something terrible. The hall became completely silent. Even the background hum of life support systems seemed to quiet down. I believe the humans left because they think their presence is harmful to us. Gasps and shouts erupted from the crowd. The idea seemed impossible. How could humanity's help be harmful? Explain yourself. Chancellor Vorth AK commanded. Dr. Han activated a holographic display showing data charts and communication records. Look at these patterns. Over the past 5 years, human colonies have been quietly preparing for departure. They moved children out of mixed schools. They relocated important equipment. They trained replacement workers for critical jobs. That proves they planned this, said Minister Gax. But it does not explain why. Look at these internal human communications, Dr. Han continued, highlighting text on the display. Phrases like creating dependency and preventing natural growth appear frequently in their private messages. They were worried about something. Ambassador Ryu returned from the communication room, her face dark with disappointment. Still no response from Earth. But I found something in the archived messages. She activated her own display. This is from a human philosopher named Dr. Kim, written 2 years ago. The text appeared for all to see. We came to the galaxy as explorers and became caretakers. We solved problems instead of teaching others to solve them. We built systems instead of showing others how to build. Have we helped the galaxy grow, or have we made it dependent on us like children? The hall erupted in angry voices. Some beings shouted that humans had no right to make such decisions. Others demanded that military force be used to bring them back. A few quiet voices wondered if the humans might be correct. Chancellor Vorthake raised his arms for silence. His crystal body pulsed with bright light. Whether the humans are right or wrong, we face a simple choice. We can either learn to survive without them, or we can watch our civilization crumble into dust. The end. The first shots of the war were fired over a small asteroid rich in rare metals. For 50 years, the Hegemony and the Stellar Collective had shared mining rights on Kepler 438c. Human diplomats had written the original agreement and helped both sides resolve disputes whenever they arose. Now, with no humans to mediate, old grudges flared into violence. General Su stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching enemy ships approach through the asteroid field. His tactical officer pointed at the display screen showing collective vessels glowing with protective energy shields. Sir, their shield technology is based on human harmonic resonance patterns. Our standard plasma cannons cannot break through their defenses. General Su clenched his jaw in frustration. Then we adapt our weapons to counter their shields. His young aide looked confused. How do we do that, sir? That is the problem, Su replied bitterly. The humans developed most of our advanced weapons technology. They took all their research data when they left. We are fighting with tools we do not truly understand against enemies using defenses we cannot crack. The battle was a disaster for both sides. Hegemony ships fired uselessly at collective shields they could not penetrate. Collective vessels launched missiles that were easily stopped by Hegemony point defense systems the Collective had never learned to overcome. Both fleets retreated after hours of futile combat, having accomplished nothing except wasting ammunition and fuel. On the medical ship Mercy Dr. O worked frantically to save wounded soldiers from both armies. The ship's trauma center was filled with beings from different species, all bleeding and dying from battle injuries. Doctor, this Hegemony soldier has a severed artery in his secondary heart, called Nurse Tem. The bleeding will not stop. Dr. O rushed over to examine the patient. She knew the basics of Hegemony anatomy, but the complex surgical procedures needed to repair damage to their unique dual heart system had been developed by human doctors over many years. I need the multi-species surgical manual, she ordered. Doctor, you have tried reading those manuals before. They assume knowledge we do not have. The human procedures reference techniques and principles we were never taught. Dr. O watched helplessly as the soldier's life faded away. 3 months ago, any human combat medic could have saved him easily. Now, with human medical knowledge gone, soldiers were dying from wounds that should have been treatable. How many have we lost today? She asked quietly. 17 deaths that could have been prevented if we still had human surgical protocols, Nurse Tem replied sadly. Meanwhile, at the neutral space station Harmony's Rest, emergency alarms blared throughout the diplomatic complex. Ambassador Wei ran through corridors filled with panicking delegates as toxic gas leaked from the ventilation systems. All personnel evacuate to emergency shelters, announced Station Commander Yoon over the intercom. Life support failure in sections 12 through 18. Ambassador Wei reached the emergency command center where Commander Yoon was working desperately at multiple control panels. Warning lights flashed red across dozens of screens. What happened? Wei asked. The environmental systems are failing, Yoon explained, sweat dripping from his forehead. This station was designed to provide perfect living conditions for over 400 different species simultaneously. Oxygen for some, methane for others, different pressure levels, temperature controls, humidity adjustments, all balanced perfectly. Can you fix it? Yoon shook his head in despair. The humans who built these systems understood the biological needs of hundreds of alien species. They knew how to create an atmosphere that could support everyone without poisoning anyone. I know how to maintain the basic machinery, but I do not understand the complex biological science behind it. Through the viewing window, Wei could see diplomatic vessels from dozens of worlds fleeing the station. The neutral meeting place that had hosted peace negotiations for over a century was being abandoned because no one knew how to keep it running without human expertise. Across the galaxy, similar disasters struck every day. On the trade world of Nova Centauri, automated cargo ships collided in the busy shipping lanes around the planet. The traffic control systems, programmed by human engineers decades ago, had begun making navigation errors that no one knew how to fix. Captain Park watched from his ship's bridge as two massive freighters crashed into each other, spilling valuable cargo into the vacuum of space. "How many collisions this month?" he asked his navigation officer. "This is the 34th major accident since the humans left. The automated traffic control systems are making mistakes we cannot understand or predict." On the agricultural world of Green Valley, Farmer Dan watched his crops begin to fail as the soil management systems broke down. Human agricultural scientists had spent years developing the perfect combination of nutrients and minerals for the alien soil. Now, without their knowledge, the delicate balance was falling apart. "The plants are turning brown," his assistant reported. "The automated fertilizer systems are adding the wrong chemicals to the soil." Dan looked out at fields that had fed millions of beings across the galaxy. The humans did not just teach us what to plant. They understood the science of how different plants interact with alien soil chemistry. Without that understanding, we are just guessing. Transportation networks failed. Communication systems produced garbled messages. Medical equipment stopped working correctly. The elegant, interconnected civilization that had taken centuries to build was falling apart in a matter of months. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, humanity watched their former friends struggle with the harsh lesson of independence. The end. Ambassador Lee sat alone in her private quarters when her personal communication device suddenly came to life. The screen flickered with static before a familiar face appeared, Director Song, her old friend from the Human Diplomatic Corps. "Hello, old friend," Song said with a sad smile. Lee nearly dropped the device in shock. "Song. Where are you? Where is everyone?" Her voice shook with emotion she had been holding back for months. "We are far away, Lee. Far enough that you will not be tempted to come looking for us." Song's image was fuzzy, but Lee could see that her friend looked tired. There were new lines around her eyes, but also a strange sense of peace. "I am calling to say goodbye properly, and to explain what we have done." Lee quickly activated her recording systems. "The Council needs to hear this. The galaxy is falling apart without you. People are dying. Wars have started. Everything is breaking down." Song nodded sadly. "I know. We are watching from far away. And it breaks our hearts to see the suffering, but it was necessary." "How can abandoning your friends be necessary?" Lee demanded, anger mixing with her relief at finally talking to a human again. Song was quiet for a long moment, looking off screen as if gathering her thoughts. When she spoke again, her voice was gentle but firm. "Do you remember learning about the Veltharian collapse 200 years ago?" Lee searched her memory. "Yes, in history class. They were a species that had grown dependent on precursor technology. When the precursors ascended to higher dimensions, the Veltharians could not maintain what they had inherited. Their entire civilization crumbled overnight." "Exactly. And what happened to them?" "They reverted to a primitive state. It took them 50 years to rebuild even basic technology. Millions died during the collapse." Song leaned forward, her image becoming clearer. "Now tell me, Lee, how are we different from the precursors?" Lee felt confused. "That is completely different. You are not ascending to higher dimensions. You just left us." "Are we really so different?" Song asked. "Look at what is happening right now. 3 centuries of human involvement in galactic affairs, and what do we have to show for it? Species that cannot function without us. Civilizations that forgot how to solve their own problems because they could always ask a human to fix things." Lee's mandibles clicked in frustration, a sign of anger in her species. "You solved problems that were impossible to solve. You brought peace to species that had been at war for thousands of years." "We brought temporary peace by making ourselves indispensable," Song replied. "But what happens when we are gone? The wars restart. The problems come back. And now entire civilizations lack the skills to address these challenges independently." The transmission flickered as Song adjusted something off-screen. When her image stabilized, Lee could see tears in her human friend's eyes. We did not leave out of anger or feelings of superiority, Lee. We left because we love you. All of you. That is the cruelest love I have ever heard of, Lee shot back. Song smiled sadly. Sometimes love means doing painful things for someone's long-term good. Think about how human parents raise their children. At first, parents do everything for a baby, feed them, carry them, solve all their problems. But as the child grows, good parents gradually step back. They let the child make mistakes. They let the child struggle with difficult tasks. We are not children. No, you are not. But we accidentally treated you like children. Every time your species faced a problem, humans rushed in to solve it. Every time your technology failed, we fixed it. Every time you had conflicts, we mediated them. We meant well, but we were preventing you from learning to handle these challenges yourselves. Lee felt a deep sadness growing in her chest. So you just decided to abandon us all at once. We debated for years about how to do this properly. Some humans wanted to gradually reduce our involvement over decades. Others suggested leaving detailed instruction manuals for everything. But we realized that as long as we remained available, you would keep depending on us instead of developing your own capabilities. Song paused, wiping her eyes. We studied the Veltharian collapse carefully. The precursors made the mistake of leaving suddenly without warning. We tried to do better. We left your colonies in perfect working order. We provided instruction manuals for critical systems. We even left some automated systems running to give you time to adapt. But people are still dying. Yes, and that tears at our hearts every day. But Lee, in the 6 months since we left, what have you seen? Are your people learning? Are they adapting? Are they finding solutions? Lee thought about the recent reports she had received. The Hegemony and Stellar Collective had finally negotiated a ceasefire without outside mediation. Several colonies had successfully modified their agricultural systems. New interspecies medical protocols were being developed. Some progress, she admitted reluctantly. More than some, Song said with pride in her voice. You are all proving what we always believed, that you did not need us to be great. You only needed to believe in yourselves. The transmission began to fade. This is goodbye, Lee. But not forever. Someday, when you no longer need us, perhaps we can meet again as true equals. The screen went dark, leaving Lee alone with the weight of understanding. The end.